This is Julia Eleanor Sappington Betts. When she died in 1940, her obituary was published on the front page of her local newspaper. Mrs. G.W. Betts passes away at Poplar Home. Death, coming quietly and peacefully, following 2 years of intense suffering which she endured with Christian fortitude, claimed Mrs. Julia E. Betts, wife of G.W. Betts of the Poplar District, yesterday afternoon. She was a native daughter of California and a pioneer of Tulare County. Mrs. Betts was born in Solano County, California, August 3, 1861, and spent her early girlhood days there. Julia E. Sappington was married to G.W. Betts in Lone Pine, Inyo County, January 29, 1879. They left Lone Pine in 1883, and after a short sojourn in Portland, Oregon, moved to Tulare City in 1884. Mrs. Betts with her husband had many interesting experiences pioneering the Old Lake region. It was a common experience to be forced from one's home in what is now the prosperous Corcoran region by the high waters of the lake. They witnessed the building up of Corcoran Junction, living 1 mile east of the depot at the time the railroad was built. In 1906, they moved into the Poplar District, where they were making their home at the time of Mrs. Betts's death. As long as health permitted, Mrs. Betts took an active part in Christian and community work. January 29th last, Mr. and Mrs. Betts quietly observed their 61st wedding anniversary. Besides the husband, the following children survive: Mrs. Grace Clark, Mrs. Catherine Clower, Mrs. Ada Harris, and Frank Betts, all of Porterville, Mrs. Oraria of Hanford, and Oscar E. Betts of San Juan Bautista. 12 grandchildren, 4 great-grandchildren.